Middle cough.
Viva Hey Behaves.
Here we go. Late on a Sunday night, live on the tube and on the podcast. Wherever you're getting the podcast, thanks for checking it out. Great to have you start your week with us. If you're watching the YouTube, what is up, everybody? Hit that like button, please. We appreciate you being here.
Let's. Do you think if Elvis was still around, he would? Do you think Celine Dion was locked into that one tonight? Isn't she in Vegas?
She's in Vegas. I know Adele wasn't because Adele had the big show at the Griffith Observatory. John, it's promoted throughout the CBS Packers-Seahawks broadcast with Oprah.
She said her Oprah setup. Is that Oprah's home that they all come to? Because it looked very similar to Markle and one of the princes, like the same backdrop.
Oh, no, I don't. Oh, maybe they do. That would make sense, right? I didn't see any of the Oprah interview. I didn't either.
I just saw, on the ad, for the Oprah thing, or the Adele thing coming up tonight. Oprah was also involved.
Apparently, I missed this. Apparently, there was somebody proposed to somebody else on the Adele special. It was like baked into the special. But I just saw on Twitter, the Adele proposal was sick. And I'm like, did Rich Paul just propose to Adele on CBS? But no, that's not what happened.
Gotcha. Her new song is pretty good.
I Drink Wine?
No, it's like Easy on Me, I think, is the song.
I'm trying to figure out, Taylor Swift re-released like a Jake Gyllenhaal ether. And apparently that's a big deal. Feeling for Jake on that.
Yeah.
Someone's got to have his back.
Bieber's got a new tune with this other guy that kind of looks like Bieber's pretty good.
The double Bieber?
Yeah, just some good tunes out there right now. You just got to keep your ear to the street.
We got a lot to talk about, John, as we record this Sunday night after football, and we'll preview some Monday Night Football as well. So if you're listening Monday, you're looking for some Monday Night preview. That's coming up. You're listening for some Sunday Night post. Middlecoff's going to his Raider post-game roots on this one today. I felt like Jamal Charles was out there, so we'll get into that. Don't forget, everybody, go to iTunes. We really appreciate when you do it. It's simple. Go to iTunes. You leave us a 5-star review. In that review, leave a question. Tell us your favorite bar as well. That's called the Haberman and Middlecoff mailbag, and that's how we populate the mailbag for the Saturday, the secret bonus Saturday podcast. So go do that. We really appreciate it when you do. Helps out the show.
Yep, you can find it on YouTube, and if you're listening on the podcast, if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube page, go do it, and, grassroots. So tell all your friends, share podcasts, share videos, share everything with your buddies.
All right, John, before we dive into all the goodies, all the topics today, let's tell you first that this podcast is sponsored by our friends at Tito's Handmade Vodka, America's original craft vodka. Middlecoff, number one.
Pretty good. It's pretty good. I had my fair share of Tito's and sodas over the weekend, and they're just fantastic. Best drink going. I was just out with the people, so I'm drinking some beer. I'm just like, this is not me. I can't just drink pitcher after pitcher. I need a Tito's and soda, and I pivoted fast, and I never went back. And Tito's and soda, and then I ended up at Shake Shack slamming a milkshake at about 10 o'clock at night, after some ball games. So Tito's and sodas, yep, number one vodka in America. Drink like champions drink, or the people on this podcast.
Yep.
Get on it.
Was Brian Hawkins at Monahan's drinking Tito's and sodas?
Well, he's when you're just ripped and skinny, you can just drink unlimited beer. After about 3 beers, I'm like, I'm probably adding pounds here. He started doing that, and he got pretty wasted. I got him housed, and then he slammed a double cheeseburger at Shake Shack.
It's so good.
That Shake Shack is incredible.
The one in the marina in San Francisco. Is that
the one in the marina is badass.
How long was the line?
Not that long last night. We went at probably 8:30ish. So
Tito's is where it's at, John. This is quality. This is heart and soul, right? This is belief. This is entrepreneurial spirit. This is charity. This is a lot of things, and it's more than anything else at this point in time, the number one vodka in America. 95 Tito Beverage, that's his name. Started it himself. The first legal distillery in Texas. Started pouring for free at fundraisers. So it's really deep into the soul of what Tito's is about. 6 times distilled in copper pots, not columns. It's more labor intensive, yes, but Tito knew it would be better. Distilled and bottled in Austin, Texas. 80% alcohol by volume, namely 80 proof. Crafted to be savored responsibly. And John, like you always point out, send us photos of you enjoying your Tito's. I got a bunch of photos, people enjoying their Tito's this weekend. I know you did too. Send them to us in your DMs or tag us.
Drinking the big fifth, the big handles. on
a golf course. That's
that's bold.
How do they make it through?
You can only go force them. A bottle, just the normal bottle, will get you through.
Yeah,
I've done it.
The key there, as we found out when we played Carico a while ago with our guy Devin, is you bring the pre-mixed Arnold Palmer, you crack it, you drink a little of it, then you just pour vodka right into the can.
Yeah, not his first rodeo.
So there you go. Podcast also brought to you by Puesto. They'll be slanging Puesto on Monday night at Levi Stadium. This is chef's kiss, fantastic Mexican food.
I actually swung by their guy on Friday night, had a cocktail, had some chips and salsa, absolutely slammed in Concord. Absolutely slammed. The parking lot on Friday night, I don't even.
Yeah.
I mean, I recommend going to Puesto, but it's probably easier to Uber. Parking lot is a madhouse. Puesto packed, people everywhere, drinking, eating. Get yourself some tacos. Taco Tuesday starting at 3 o'clock. They go. They have a great happy hour. Tacos are half off. And if you're going to the Niner game, if you're listening to this Monday and you're headed to the Niner game to watch them lose the Rams, hopefully beat the Rams, they're section 110 and section 129. So get yourself a taco.
Highly recommend the Quesabirria taco. To me, that is the one. The Adler brothers, they've got something special going here, and you cannot order wrong. But Quesabirria taco is my personal favorite because it's got the crispy melted cheese and the braised short rib. Plus, you get those the Puesto Perfect guacamole that comes with the Parmigiano Reggiano in it. Order the Bang Bang Margarita, over 500 tequilas and spirits. Taco Tuesday. Half off tacos from 3 p.m. until close. Taco Tuesday, 2 Northern California locations here in the Bay, a bunch in SoCal, and happy hour every Monday through Friday from 3 to 5. A bunch of specials there as well. So much good stuff.
Go check it out. Concord.
Puesto. All right. I don't know what we're going to do next week or this week because we are on fire.
I don't want to get greedy, but if you just, I'm a big believer in value. And right now, the Niners, there's just some value there. Listen, I know we've just been doing one bet a week, and the weekends are far away, but we have mybookie.ag, promo code HAM1. We've won 8 straight bets. We've won a parlay. We turned $150 each. $300, guy. Right now, $4,400.
We've won 8 in a row.
And if it wasn't for the little thing that the
double fourth quarters, John.
The mob used to call it the VIG. It's part of the deal. So when you bet 500, you don't actually, you only win like 450. We would probably be at like 480, 490. I mean, we just crush it. Absolutely crush it. If you want to throw $300 on the Niners just for shits and giggles, I'm in. But if you don't, that's breaking strategy.
I mean, I hadn't thought about
we're
that
up over
until
2 G's each. We're up over 2 G's each.
I hadn't thought about it until this moment, but might not be crazy. I'll be honest, doesn't feel like value, although I wouldn't be shocked to see them win. I will say Daniel, who must have joined Twitter. I can tell when Daniel joined Twitter, like right when Around the Horn was hot, because his Twitter handle is Plashke Sucks. And he said he put 750 on each of our last 2 locks, and it's paid for as he said, a lot of my birthday weekend in Hawaii.
We're scolding hot right now, guy. Today was first drive. The Browns go right down the field. You go, okay, we're in for one. We got the hoodie. We got Josh McDaniels. We got McCorkle. But let's buckle up. I would say about 10 minutes later, I felt like I'm going to go to the gym in like 30 minutes. This is ass kicking, and it's on. And Bill, actually, he doesn't. It's not like he celebrates, but everyone else was celebrating. It was fun to watch, guy. It was fun to watch.
We do all that at mybookie.ag, promo code HAM1, mybookie.ag, promo code HAM1. Well, they'll double your deposit up to $1,000. You can also decline the bonus. Remember, if you accept the bonus, you do have to bet the full amount before you can withdraw the funds, or you can decline it. But HAM1, that's the promo code, HAM1 at mybookie.ag to let them know that we sent you. And yeah, right now Niners are plus 3.5. Next week, the Patriots are minus 5.5 at the Falcons. See, I looked at. There's a few teams.
That's Thursday night game.
Yeah, no thanks. Like I did look at the Falcons today without even realizing who they were going to play, and my first thought was someone's going to overreact to what happened to them today. Just like people overreacted you could have to what happened to Dallas last week. A lot of overreactions, I think, swings.
It was 36-3 at half. Their lows are pretty low.
Second half effort, only lost the second half 7-0, John. Falcons really buckled down, 43-3. Buckled down.
There was a moment today where Fox and CBS, so like I don't know, depending on where you live, but a lot of people that listen to this are in the Bay Area, had that game and had the Patriot game. Going into the fourth quarter of both games, the combined score was 80-10. I've never seen this. They both switched games. With the 15 minutes left in both games, they switched. 80-10. 80-10. The combined score at the time they made the switch.
Wow. So did they? Do you think talk about
And the
that?
other two games were good. The other two games were good. They went to
Remember,
Tampa, and they went to. I watched the whole like last two quarters and overtime or I guess the last quarter and overtime of Campbell and Tomlin. You watch any of that?
Oh, that's why that game was on my TV all of a sudden.
Yeah, because it got flipped.
Makes a lot of sense now.
A very entertaining shitty game. Very entertaining shitty game.
Dan on the YouTube stream says, "How in the hell are the Rams only 3.5? That line is shady AF. I feel like the money line is the way to go."
Really quick, guy. $300. MyBookie.ag promo code AM1. You know we're up big here. Pays $435 money line. And we'd still, even if we lost, we'd still have 2 G's each in the bag.
Yeah, do it. Do it.
Again, are they going to go 3-6? I mean, are they just going to be a 3-6 team? That's what I keep telling myself. Are they just going to be?
I noticed
the Vikings are a good example today. Like, actually, the Vikings feel like they play better, more consistently than the 49ers, don't they?
Yeah, they do. I think the Vikings have been undervalued. We talked about them last week. We've talked about the Vikings a few times on this show as being undervalued. It was funny, though, if it keeps going like this, McVay winning, Shanahan losing, watching the Packer game today, somebody made the point, like, they started talking about how people are running McVay's offense around the league. It was Shanahan's, but now it's McVay's. So...
Yeah. I did see I think Albright on Twitter, they were asking him, when Fangio gets fired at the end of the year, who are they going to hire? He's like, Dan Quinn is a name that he's kind of heard in the circles. And they're like, well, who's going to be his offensive coordinator? And he did right. Someone from the Shanahan tree. So I think it's splintering right now. Some people, this game's, if tomorrow looks like what we just witnessed, it might just be like, oh yeah, the McVay tree. It could go to, oh yeah, remember when Shanahan worked for McVay? Well, actually, McVay was a tight end coach, but really Sean was that's kind
it'll
of
be Mike Shanahan to Sean McVay. That'll be the timeline. They'll like cut Kyle out of it completely. Be like, yeah, Mike tutored Kyle, and then Kyle went off and spread his seeds throughout the league.
Like LaFleur is racking up wins. I know he's got Rodgers, but holy shit, the guy just wins a lot of games.
I know. When he has Rodgers.
And Romo fucked it up, but he was trying to their stat at home since LaFleur has been the head coach at Lambeau is 20-3. I think they're winning. And Kyle at home, what are they, 1-9 the last whatever home games? Niners don't win at Levi's. They're terrible.
No.
So we just bet on them.
You did? You hit send?
Yes, I hit send.
All right, so we're in.
That's how usually people in gambling lose their money. They're like, I've already got all this money.
I know.
But are the Niners really going to be 3-6?
Well, what would it take? They would have to lose to the Rams. So it's not that crazy. All right.
I forwarded you. I DM'd you a tweet.
You DM me a tweet? Okay.
Yeah, from
I got it.
You probably used.
What do you want me to put this up?
Yeah, I just think it kind of this guy's been around the team for a long time, and I don't think he just throws shit out of his ass.
Okay, here we go. Let's see what you just forwarded me.
Give an old school Big J, a little love.
All right, John. Here it is. Jerry McDonald says, I've seen some pretty hideous performances from the Raiders in the last 26 years. That loss to the Chiefs ranks near the top or bottom. Ass kicked on both sides of the line, all three phases, 2 god-awful turnovers, dramatically outcoached on their new home field. Yikes.
You like that tweet?
That was a strong tweet from Jerry McDonald. I did watch them and think that, they whatever it is, they're a little lost right now. And this is an additional take to that, which is the AFC West is over. In what's been a wild year, now it's going to be about them trying to find their tracks in time for the wild card.
Chiefs play the Cowboys this week, so it's, they're not, but
yeah.
Big picture, the Chiefs are back in the driver's seat. I'm with you. I think it's twofold. One, the Chiefs are just better. I mean, Mahomes is a far superior player than Derek, and Derek's good. Andy Reid is an all-time great coach. He's coaching against an interim coach, a special teams coach that was the interim coach. And they said early on in the game, Rich told, I think, Al and Chris, like, not in a million years would I have wanted my chance to come like this. And I think sometimes when you hear stuff like that, because I know you thought that the Ruggs thing played a role last week, and I thought it was more that just Derek played poorly, but maybe he played poorly because he's trying to force stuff because of, like, more football-wise, but that just kind of hanging over them. It's clearly derailed their offense. That's, to me, regardless how emotionally they've been able to compartmentalize, right? Or they talk about it a lot or they don't talk about, it has really, really derailed what they had going for them as a dynamic offense with a young star player. Now, granted, tonight, his replacement, I mean, fucked up pretty badly, right? That fumble.
Yeah, Deshaun.
The game was, the Raiders had a quick 2-series moment where it felt like they could hang in the game. Derek gets hot, leads them on the drive, scores with Bryan Edwards. They get the ball back. He's leading them on another drive, and Deshaun fumbling that ball, the Chiefs score, and then the floodgates open.
Yeah, the fumble.
I don't think they were going to win the game anyway, if Deshaun doesn't fumble, but they would have been in the game.
Yeah, I don't think they were. I thought first half they looked really out of it. They made plays, but I still believe the Ruggs thing affected them last week, and I still might be from an off the field standpoint. I would fully understand if it does continue to affect them. I mean, it's a pretty significant trauma, right?
Well, it was so bad you noticed they didn't even touch it tonight. It's like you don't touch that on a broadcast. I don't know
how do you do it? Because everything they do, if you notice, Al's very good at, like, I'll tell someone's life story between snaps, and that one you can't do,
like Joey Molinaro.
Oh, the segues? Yeah, the segues. Oh, my God, that was so good.
It was good.
That was so good. But I also think there is just a fundamental football element to not having Ruggs as well. But whatever it is, they're off. The other thing is John Gruden was their head coach. Is there at some point, for as much of a roller coaster as he was, you lost somebody that was a big part of your game planning every week, right? That was a big part of your plotting, a big part of he was in charge of the chess that you played. So does that over time begin to just, cost you? I don't know, but I think there's something very wrong with them, and I think it stems from they've had an incredibly they had a 2.5 week stretch there that was insane. And I don't know. I'm wondering now if they'll be able to recover from it during this season.
You could argue, I don't know the exact number of weeks. It might have been a 4-week stretch from the Gruden emails to Damon Arnett. Like those.
Was it 4 weeks? Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe it was longer than I thought.
Yeah, because I think there was a gap. Because remember, they had won a couple games once Gruden got fired.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
With Ruggs, and then the Ruggs thing happened, and then Arnett has the doom gun and threatened to. I watched it for the first time. I think on Saturday. I didn't realize how vocal he was on there. What he was saying, like, bro, this is pretty nuts. Saying he's gonna kill some people with guns. Like, bro, are you a fucking moron? Like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever seen any human in professional sports do on social media. Threaten to kill someone with guns. Like, bro, you're on the team. What do you think's going to happen? Like, hey, just put that 9 and the doom gun away, bro. You're good. I know you're not even playing that well and you're injured, but, like, yeah, no big deal. Like, what are you talking? I couldn't. I was floored. I mean, I knew it was stupid, but I thought he was just showing a gun. I didn't look into it until I clicked and played it. I was like, this is insane. That to me is like, you had that guy in the locker room. Like, what? Are we sure they're locker room vibes for what Derek and some of those guys were able to bring to the table? Did they have some clowns in there? I mean, holy moly. And the Chiefs, to me, they ran into a buzzsaw of like, yeah, I mean, one of the best coaches in the league, one of the best players in the league. And look at his two friends who have been they've clearly been off, right? Tyreek and Hill. Tyreek and Kelsey, the whole thing is like, can you get these guys going? Tonight, it was like those two guys you cannot stop us.
Yeah, it felt, especially to me, like Kelsey was always right there in the moment when they needed him by design. It'd be like Collinsworth would say, this is where they go to Kelsey. It's like, oh, there's 13 yards.
Yeah, and he had some of his vintage, like, even a play. I mean, it might have been designed. There was one play where he was blocking Crosby, and I think it was like to take a deep shot, and then he just lets go, and Mahomes dumps it to him, and he makes
block,
like 3
block,
guys
catch,
miss, and he goes like 15 yards, and it's like, well,
everything
if he's going to
worked.
do that tonight, you're in trouble. Kelsey's numbers tonight. I mean, he had 8 for 120, but it felt bigger than that. And Priest Holmes had 9 catches for 100. Tyreek had 7 for 83 with 2 touchdowns. I mean, Mahomes 70%, 35 of 50, 400 yards, 5 touchdowns.
Yeah, 70% on 50 attempts, John. You have to include that when you do 70% on 50
as a
attempts.
PFF guy pointed out, turnover-worthy play on the 31, the catch that he had. The touchdown where he kind of made
Giving this guy a chance,
Yeah.
Turnover-worthy play if he's throwing it to John Middlecoff, but
I also
trusted
thought
his
Derek,
guy.
and again, it's Ruggs. He had the 2-series stretch where he threw some BBs, but for the most part, hasn't quite looked as good. They needed an All-Pro Bowl. I know he's not an All-Pro, but like a Pro Bowl level performance from a $35 million potential quarterback, and they just didn't get that.
Yeah. No, I think they. Again, I'll repeat it. I think there's I think there's something that's a hangover, or whatever you want to call it, and I think that's part of this. Now, this is also just a huge game, and as somebody pointed out, where did this go on the stream? That Andy just owns this division. This is Quinn. Listen to this. It says Chiefs have lost 6 divisional games since 2015. 3 of those were on Thursday night, last-second plays. One of them was when they rested their starters Week 17 last year. Andy owns the West. Is that true?
Well, the Raiders beat them once last year, and the Chargers just beat them. I don't know if that's true. Chargers beat them this year.
6 divisional games have lost 6 divisional games since 2015. Let's check that. But
well, the Raiders definitely beat them last year, and the Chargers beat them this year. So that's 2 losses separate from the ones he just listed, right? So he might be a little off.
is that stat coming into the year? Maybe.
Yeah, I remember one of the walk-off plays, Phillip Rivers threw a corner touchdown. Do you remember that game, Thursday Night Football? Rivers had a miraculous game against them.
So you just counted 2. Last year, Raiders 3. Last year was the Week 17 Chargers 4. 19. They did not lose a divisional game in 19. They went to the Super Bowl. We're still at 4. 18. They lost to the Rams on Thursday Night Football. So we're up to 5. 17. Come on. 2017, they lost to the Raiders on Thursday Night Football. So we're up to 6. This is still not going to be that much more than 6. 16, they lost no divisional games. And 15, they lost to Denver. They lost to Denver on a Thursday night. So what was that, 7?
So you're right. That was probably the stat coming into the season. You had the Chargers game this year.
Yeah.
You know the last time they didn't win the AFC West?
Was Steve Avery on the Braves? How long has it been?
I mean, they've won it 16, 17, 18. They've won it 6 straight years. And they win it again. That's 7 straight division titles.
Wow.
That's pretty impressive, right? And think about this guy. 13, 14, 15. He was second. You know who was first? I mean, it was Peyton Manning in Denver, right? They went to 2 Super Bowls in 3 years. So it's like he was right there. Once Peyton left, it was on like Donkey Kong. And if they had a moment, I was texting with Schwartz tonight. He's like, everyone was shitting on him because they had the worst month in a 4-year stretch. Like, can you guys take a breath? Like, they had some weird games. Everyone's like, the Chiefs are done. It's like, no, they're fine. They fucking own the division. To me, that's where they own the division.
Yeah. Well, I think, and we'll talk about it with quarterbacking, and it's these things play out over a period of time. And 3 weeks don't make a season. I mean, the Patriots were once declared dead. What week was that? Remember, didn't they lose badly on a? Was that a Thursday night in September?
But do you know when it always happens, guy? It doesn't happen in November and December. They were 2-2.
Right.
You know.
I'm just saying these things need time. Like the Chiefs started hot this year. Did you see the stat they showed? They were over 30 points per game in the first 5, I think is what it was.
The last 3 games they'd scored 36 points. I think Bruce said tonight.
Well, they went boring early in the game, and then they stopped being boring.
In a weird way, Andy's Chiefs tenure has been better than his Eagles tenure.
Well, it's probably had less lows, right? Plus the Super Bowl.
He's had no lows. I mean,
Yeah.
He's been second. The worst finish is second. Now, he missed the playoffs one time in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is his 9th season. He's made the playoffs 7 out of 8 years, and he surely is going to win the division and make the playoffs probably again as long as Mahomes stays healthy, right?
And what was he in Philly? 13 years?
Yeah,
like
13 years, made the playoffs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9 of 13, that's pretty good, right?
It is.
Went to 4 NFC Championship games.
But you said he's missed the playoffs how many times in Kansas City?
Once in 8 years.
Once in 8 years. So this is year 9. Let's say he makes it year 9, and you said he was 9 of 13 in Kansas City. He'll be 8 of 9 here.
Yeah.
Wow. Holy smokes. All right, the Raiders, John, have now lost back-to-back games since the bye. They play the Bengals at home this week. Were the Bengals on a bye? I didn't see the Bengals today.
Yeah, I think the Bengals and the Giants did not play.
All right, Bengals on a bye, so they get the Bengals off a bye, whatever that means.
The Bengals are 5-4. It's a big game for them.
Yeah, and they're good, right?
They're not bad at all.
Then Dallas, then the fighting Heineke's, then the Chiefs again, then at Cleveland, Broncos, Colts, Chargers. I mean, it's going to be really tough now, right?
I would pick
it's going to be really tough.
I would pick them to not make the playoffs as you and I sit here right now. How about you?
Yeah, I went from the last time you asked me that question several weeks ago, after Gruden's firing, maybe it was after the Eagles game, I said, yeah, they're making the playoffs. I didn't have any doubt. I seriously doubt it now.
To me, I pivoted. The Ruggs incident / him being gone has changed the way I look at the team.
Completely. More than Gruden.
Way more than Gruden. I think it destroyed them. Because Ruggs is one thing. I mean, Deshaun is still fast. But like Deshaun is like a sports car that once did. That's a bad analogy with what happened with Ruggs. But he was a guy that used to run a 4.2 that feels like Deshaun's probably 4.45, which still faster than most people. But like Ruggs was still a true like young Deshaun running 4.2, right? That's an extra step. That's an extra. Deshaun like is still fast, but he's not as fast as he once was, right?
No, which is part of the reason I think maybe he kind of did that little spin move that everyone on Twitter couldn't figure out. Like, why is Deshaun doing that? I wonder if he doubted if he could outrun the person who was chasing him.
Well, I think people question why he turned not at the end zone, right?
Yeah, well, it was the old fake-a-roo. I'm going the other way.
Which he's been known to do, right?
I'd forgotten. You know who
he's taken, I would say, in our lifetime, the most bizarre routes to the end zone historically.
You know who did the run parallel to the end zone before Deshaun did it?
No.
I watched the clip. I watched Thursday night, last Thursday. I went on YouTube and I watched 10 minutes of Gus Johnson's greatest calls just to get myself in the weekend mood. And he had his famous call is, Gus used to call the NFL for CBS. I think Gus called one of either Tom Brady's first start or his debut. It was Gus.
I didn't know that.
He had this famous, it's Kyle Orton and the Broncos in like a tie game. And Orton throws some sideline ball that gets popped up. Brandon Stokely snatches it out of the air. Final seconds. Gus is screaming, Stokely! Well, Stokely, with the clock winding, gets to the end zone. People are chasing. He runs parallel to the end zone to take as much time off the clock and then finally scores with like 2 seconds left on the clock. So anyway, I think it's partly that Deshaun's not as good as him. And I think it's partly, and we see it in the Bay Area. You see it wherever you're a sports fan. You know this. The guys that are your guys just feel different, especially early, right? When you drafted him, when he developed with when he developed with Derek, it's different when a new guy just steps in. You go, okay, do what that guy was doing.
Yeah.
It's just different.
It's not the same.
So,
because he went, it was just the perfect mix. And the
Chiefs
have that. The Chiefs
they went from the perfect mix to feeling like there's 3 guys missing. Didn't it feel that way?
It feels weird. It feels very bizarre. But they're only missing one guy, yet it throws off the whole thing. Where the Chiefs, I mean, those guys can kind of finish each other's sentences, right? Hill, Kelsey, and Mahomes, and really like Pringle and and Hardman.
If you put them, are they the same person?
But they've been there the whole time, right?
That's true.
So like those guys will leave, and they'll just have some other skinny guys that run 4.2 next year, right? whenever those guys graduate out of their first contract.
Yeah.
They'll just draft a guy in the 4th round from, McNeese State that's like Tutu's cousin. And it'll look the same. Guy looks like he weighs 175 pounds. He'll kick return, and they'll throw him some deep routes. And he'll just mix in with the crew. Like that's the lock of the century. Get ready for that.
Moose said Leatherwood has costly penalties every game. I thought you and I were talking about this before the show. I thought the first penalty on the Mariota play, I haven't heard an explanation for it. I mean, he didn't flinch. He just started moving early. I wonder if here's quarterback coach Haberman, John. My backup quarterback's job is to learn the cadence and try and sound exactly like the starter. So when he gets under center, there's no difference in like, hot. It's all exactly the same. There's no extra pause. I don't know what happened with Leatherwood, but maybe Mariota just has a little pauses a little longer than Derek does, and it threw him off.
Well, one thing they said tonight, I would agree with that, is that the Chiefs studied the TV copy of Raider games. Having walked by Andy's office for 2 years of my life, that guy has sports on in his office 24/7, 365. And a lot of coaches like Saban, and I think a lot, and maybe it's true, they go like, I'm just locked in. I'm not watching anything. That's not Andy. Now he's doing his own work, but a game is always on in the background. Now, obviously on Sunday he's coaching, but Thursday night and Monday Night Football, do you know where Andy is? At the office. What do you think he's noticed over the years of some Raider games? And maybe his coach, maybe his assistant coaches have too. Derek screaming. So he's probably tells Spagnuolo, like, bro, or maybe gets their quality control guy, rip every home game that Derek plays. And I think Hitchinson told Collinsworth that, like, yeah, we matched it up with their audibles. And we thought, we got a pretty good idea of what's going on. Like, that's just, maybe you don't need to scream loud. And again, I don't know if he's doing it on purpose, but I'll promise you, Andy's in his office fucking powering down a little post-dinner snack going, okay, we got something here. And then you just start matching it because when he's yelling something, you can see, this is what these guys do for a living. I mean, you and I wouldn't be able to figure it out, but the quality control guy, the linebacker coach, the coordinator, and the player, they could do enough studying and like get a couple ideas. Like, this is what they're most likely when he's saying this, right?
Yeah, yeah. Do you think are the mics different? Like,
it does feel like he's louder, right?
It definitely feels like he's louder. Do you think they eliminated the John Gruden's wife audible from the playbook? Bruce Allen.
That was kind of funny, but he does just yell like whatever, like a couple specific things that feel dramatically louder than the other games I watched. Like, the Patriots have that thing turned down. I'll promise you that. I've never heard anything with Foxborough.
Yeah, I know.
He would never want that out, right?
John says, you both are morons if you think Andy is the only coach in the NFL doing this, LMAO. But why do people since when did the internet get so negative? I don't understand, John.
I don't either.
David says, what is Andy Reid's post-game snack?
I think he told me when I talked to him a couple years ago at the Combine that he cleaned up his diet, but when I got there, it was 2 McDonald's cheeseburgers and 2 things of Haagen-Dazs coffee ice cream.
I said snack.
Yeah, it's a snack. I mean, he's a big guy. He's tall too,
The Shill says the Raiders are emotionally done. I think it's going to be hard. I think it's going to be difficult. And again, the schedule, John, the schedule. Like, forget about any of that stuff that's hard to identify. The schedule is really difficult.
Yeah.
And who's fixing the problems that they have?
Back to that comment, guy talking some shit. We were not saying the Chiefs were the only one doing it, but we were saying the Raiders are intentionally, it feels like, louder than these other teams, so they're there to be had. And when you got a coach that, I don't know, what's the math? 9, 8, 17 of 22 years has made the playoffs, he's probably going to pick up on more shit than the average slapdicks around the league, right?
You just reminded me, I got to show you.
What did I tell you about special teams, guy? Who ran a special teams fake
Dave
today?
Taub. Is it Taub? Taub? How do you say his name?
Yeah, it's the Taub.
How about the punter run? It was a back shoulder throw, John. They didn't just throw it.
Well, it was like what do you practice it?
Holy smokes!
Do you know that
you've been
Mitch
demanding.
Ran a 4.65. Mitch ran a 4.65.
Mitch Wishnowsky. I told you
All I
he's
want is
run
special teams fake.
He's run trick plays at Utah, and he got a penalty one time for spiking the football.
Taub's throwing Rodgers back shoulder throws just for fun, and everyone is just the Niners are losing by 20. I mean,
yeah, it's you texting me. No, it's a good call. Now the Chiefs did it up. What was the score of the game when they did it?
they were up, 20 points, but it was
Niners have to. You got to be up 20 to.
But
run
my
it down
point is,
7. That would impress me.
They did it like a nail in the coffin FU play. I was just saying use it for a spark play.
Did you see you didn't actually. We didn't talk about this. There were some college moments. There was one thing I was going to say to you in the Arizona game. Dr. Blitz, the former Michigan defensive coordinator for Harbaugh, now is Arizona. He had a defensive play call.
Love Dan Brown.
Don. I got to clip it off. Love Dan Brown, though, the late great.
Yeah, I love Dan more because I knew him. But
yeah, I don't know Don Brown, but
Don was crying last week. I saw,
after they won
the game. Yeah, it was cool.
These guys had a play call where the signal from the sideline was he put his head back and he like he was dropping a rat into his mouth. He went, I don't know what that was. Drop something.
They were winning for a minute, weren't they?
Oh yeah, Utah,
Arizona's been playing well.
Yeah, and then Washington actually recovered an onside kick with 3 seconds left. I thought you love special teams, so you appreciate that.
Were they down 10?
No, they were down. They had a chance. They could have, tie, or I don't remember exactly what the score was, but.
Well, I mean, they were 3 seconds away, and then the coach gets fired the next day.
They were down 5 is what it was. They were down 5.
Oh, 35-30 was that final
35-30,
score.
yeah.
Do you think that would have made a difference to keep Jimmy Lake alive? They would.
No, he wasn't coaching the game, so I don't think it would have helped anything at all, actually.
Does that go in his ledger if I go to his?
I think it does. I think it does.
That kind
they were
sucks.
up 14-0 on Herm, and Herm sneakily his team's solid.
Gruden's not getting these L's or W's, right?
No,
that ended.
No,
gotcha. Just not sure on the interim. I guess suspended's different, getting fired.
Right.
No,
these are going on Bisaccia's ledger.
Yeah, he's 2-2. He's 500.
What else? What do you want to go to now? We've talked. This is a little later Sunday night. We've got a couple things we could dive to. I was going to follow up with the Chiefs topic, but I feel like we've talked about them enough here.
I think one of the stories of the day, and really kind of owns the internet, especially the area we live in, and this the story. I mean, Mac Jones, and really, just because you're the quarterback, it's like being the star NBA player or the star pitcher. You get talked about more, though. Clearly, the Patriots have an elite defense. Have the best head coach ever. I know this guy has done some weird shit in his career, right? He got, they hated him in Denver. He left Chris Ballard at the altar, but he is a fantastic offensive coordinator in Josh. So it's not even just Bill; it's Bill and Josh. And offensively, Hunter Henry, they have some weapons, for him to dink and dunk to, and he does a lot of dinking and dunking. But Mac Jones does look pretty good for a rookie. I mean, I thought today was pretty impressive, just the way he kind of handles himself, that's a big game.
Yeah. Yeah, he was 19-23 for 198, 3 touchdowns, had the 48-yard touchdown to Kendrick Bourne. Will on the chat says, after today, I trust New England to make the Super Bowl more than Tampa. Hot take. It might be a little hot just because of the quarterback discrepancy still, but he looks really good. Now, I've been saying this, and I'll continue saying this. These quarterback kind of comparisons, these things take years to really play themselves out. It's like watching one of those stadium dot races in between the 5th and 6th inning, but over the course of 3 years. Just because the yellow dot is ahead at the beginning doesn't mean the green dot isn't going to pass them. And then out of nowhere, they crash and the purple dot comes flying up. Careers are long, especially at quarterback. Guys get a lot of chances.
I always like the cup thing on the ball.
The cup one is always a great one. 4. I guess there's no 4. It's always 1, 2, or 3. 3. It's a 3. Just simple joy, John. That one is simple fun. But he looks really good. And I had the thought today, because did you send me a clip, or maybe I just saw it on the internet? They asked 2 people who were, I can't keep track of all the shows I watch, but they asked 2 NFL analysts, is it him or is it the system? And they were both like, the system. Do you know what I'm talking? Who said that or where I saw that?
No, but I mean, he is.
It was respected. NFL
he's gaining
people.
A lot of yards on screen passes.
For sure. And that's legitimate. But there is also just something to him. I mean, Jarrett Stidham didn't do it, right?
Yeah.
I
No,
mean, there's
he's a
just
good
something
player.
to the guy. There's just something to the guy, and they trust the guy. And McDaniels is fantastic. You're right. And Bill and Bobcat Goldthwait, his son from Police Academy, that's what he looks like, or however you say that actor's name. I mean, the whole thing's working right now. But he is making some plays. Now, will he ever be for an extended period of time like much better than Jimmy Garoppolo's best? I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, man, I got no problem with some of the conversations people are having about him right now.
And again, like if you and I lived in Cincinnati or Dallas, Jimmy Garoppolo wouldn't be the bar. But obviously, when the Niners made this trade and have kept Jimmy Garoppolo, we're comparing him to Jimmy Garoppolo. And the Patriots kind of did too, because they probably, before they knew they could get Mac, would have taken Jimmy Garoppolo. And who knows? Jimmy Garoppolo with them might look better than the version that we've seen. But it does feel like Mac's more accurate. I just know if you and I were head coach and GM or owner or whatever, and I had to choose for the next 8 weeks who I'd want running my team, Mac Jones or Jimmy Garoppolo, I think, not even just me and you, I think universally around the NFL, every single human would take Mac Jones. He just feels, he's much more calm. He just feels much more accurate. He had a couple throws a day to Hunter Henry that, like, Jimmy, he lost that. Now, you're right. In 19, when he had his heyday, and his heyday was really like a stretch of football. Like, it wasn't the whole season because the defense carried them in games. It was like an 8-9 game stretch where they had some injuries, and he was throwing 350-yard games. He was going toe-to-toe with Russell Wilson. Like, does Mac ever have that high end? I don't know. But Jimmy showed that, like, that was kind of a flash in the pan. Mac, it does feel a little bit more like, is he ever going to be like an ace on a pitching staff? I don't know. But could he just have like a 10-year career as like a sweet number 2? Like, is he just Matt Cain or something?
To me, he could definitely have a sweet career. He could be somebody's starter for a while. The question is, right, there's different levels of Mac Jones.
Yeah, but I'm paying him $50 million in 3 years, and I got to build a team, with him.
That's one of the big questions. One of the other questions is, are you better off with him at 12, drafting him at 12, and dealing with whatever that, like, what is that ceiling? Or are you better off taking a big swing? Because if you draft him at 12, are you in the same position 6 years from now that the Vikings are perpetually in, that you're in, that you were in, that created you the need to draft Trey Lance? I mean, Dan Wetzel wrote about it. Oh, go ahead.
Do you think right now, if Kyle could choose, honest moment, would you, if you could do it over again, would you have just sat at 12, taken Mac Jones, cut Jimmy, or just let them battle it out and you would have given the job to Mac Jones, but had your 2 first-round picks, or done what you've done?
I think he would do that. I think he would change history because I think it'd make his life easier right now. I think he thinks he'd have a better football team right now, today. Now, I mean, they're not the Patriots on defense, right? But, yeah, I think he would do that. Now, I don't know. The hard part about that is we're constantly trying to guess how much he likes Trey Lance.
Would you see he had some quotes. He was asked about, Trey's. Mike Silver had said something about his struggle, like how he's kind of gone in the tank, and Kyle said kind of push back, but now also not really. Like, maybe there's some truth to that. It was a little weird.
Yeah, he said, well, everybody's up, because he said he's regressed. He's like, well, everybody's up and down. You get better, you get worse. It's a constant, which I think that's probably more true. It kind of, for me, crystallized why I've always had a little bit of a problem with regressed, because things change. Like, there's so many different, like, did I regress if I'm the same guy, but my offensive line got better or got worse, and now I look worse? Did I regress, or did I just not get better? If you're not getting better, you're getting worse. But that whole thing. Yeah, I mean, I thought Kyle's answer was like a more real, like, this is how it works with human beings.
Yeah.
Like, you do well, then we level you up a little bit, give you a little more, and now you slide back a little bit, right?
Yeah, it's an evolving fluid process.
Yes. It's a living, breathing organism,
Yeah, Trent Williams gets sweeter every day, but everyone else in this room, hell, George Kittle disappears for a while. He's probably right?
Well, like, has Clemson regressed, or is it just some years you take a step back to take a step forward? I don't know.
Well,
we'll see.
Well, I think they regressed. Their talent wasn't the same, and their quarterback play fell off a cliff. I think in college football, regression's more because your players change so much.
Yeah, but so maybe the better way to put it, has Dabo Swinney regressed? Has he lost something?
Good coaches are usually better with better players.
Dan Wetzel wrote about it, about Mac, and at one point he wrote, like, should he be drafted 2? Should he be drafted 1? And then he even kind of said, it's soon for that. But this is what else he wrote. The Niners had the 3rd overall pick. It traded 2 first-round selections and a third, and up from 12 to 3. It took Trey Lance. He remains enough of a project that he's barely seen the field, even though he needs to beat out only Jimmy Garoppolo. In an alternate world, the Niners keep all their picks, trade Jimmy back to New England, probably for a second, and then just take Jones at 12. In other words, Trey Lance better turn out great. Yeah, that's exactly right. Do you think Kyle would, right now, this moment, if he could snap a finger, have not traded any picks and taken Mac Jones at 12?
Well, then it's just like, is Mac Jones, would he have just been quicker to beat out Jimmy? Because
Jimmy would have been gone.
Farther. But so they just would have cut Jimmy and then
that like that scenario. Yeah, you trade him or something. You do whatever with him.
Yeah, and then maybe you got some extra cash to do some other sweet shit. Maybe you land Odell's on the team. Yeah, I mean, there's a butterfly effect that potentially. Here, my issue though. To Wetzel's point, this is really about him becoming a star in years to become, which I don't know if Mac Jones can become. Now, can Mac Jones become the best version of – I'd even put Carr as like a better version of Cousins, even though Cousins – I guess let me rephrase that. A more talented version of Cousins, because Cousins does have seasons that Derek just does not have in terms of touchdowns. But Derek's a little younger. But like I just think he'd kind of be the best version of that kind of crew. Like what Alex was ahead of for a long time, right? Because that's just kind of his physical skill set. Now, you never discount, right, work ethic and toughness and football IQ, and he might just have all these intangible stuff to be better than, like, I'm not saying that he can't be better than even I believe, because that's how sports work sometimes. Like, no one ever thought, 2 years in, Curry was going to be great, and then he became probably a top 8 player of all time when the dust settles. So you just... There's stuff internally in people that this guy clearly has some shit to him, and you'd have to give him a lot of respect to go into that building as a rookie, and clearly just feels like he's kind of in control of the operation. Bill trusts him. It's pretty impressive. Which Trey is not really able to do, right? And maybe it was always rigged against him, as a rookie. Now, they're different. I mean, he learned under Nick Saban and just won a national championship. This guy didn't even play last year at Division I AA. So it's... One guy was at Harvard Business School. The other guy was at like Fresno State. Now, that doesn't mean in 5 years the Fresno State guy can't be way richer, right? Well, I mean, there might not be. In the business world, who knows? So, but in football, who knows? Like, it doesn't. But he did have a leg up learning from Saban and Sark and some of those guys, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And playing with the players he played with, right? Playing with NFL level talent and playing in big games. Mr. Superfly says, after today's Max got 13 touchdowns, 11 picks. Are you guys really crazy about that? No, I'm not crazy about it, but you just can't deny that something is working there. And this is where, when you make comparisons that you hate to make, the Tom Brady thing, when people are coming out like, oh, maybe he could be like Tom Brady. To me, when you say that, now maybe some people are saying he could be one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, but I don't think anyone was saying that. To me, I think what you're saying when you make that comparison is just, does he have something in him that we can't really see right now? Right? That's what that comparison means. Like, there's nothing on the checklist of all-time great quarterbacks that you could have identified with Tom necessarily. You would have said some of the same stuff. Not a great athlete, not a great arm. I mean, he probably has a better arm, but I bet his arm got stronger as time went on.
It did.
The way he learned to torque his body and all that stuff. So TB12. That's what that is. Like, it's not actually comparing Mac Jones to Tom. I think it's just saying, is there something within him? That's what I thought about today when I was like, well, no, every time Mac Jones does something right now for the next year or two, it's going to be, yeah, it's the system, or yeah, it's the talent, or yeah. But at some point, if you keep winning and producing, we have to give you your flowers. And, we'll see. But that's
do you think Tom would have drank pitchers of beers, Tito's and sodas, and then got a Steak Shack? And
yes, as a rookie, absolutely.
Double burgers and this unreal, it's called like the white and black shake. It has like peanut butter. I mean, it's just like, oh my God, melt in your mouth. I've been thinking about it all day.
Absolutely. Yes, I think Tom ate very dirty once upon a time.
Yeah. I'm not a rookie, though.
It's all relative, though, NFL rookie age, but you're a retiree at 39. True. So,
But he's throwing the whole thing off.
He is.
Even though, he come back.
Cheat day, John. Cheat day. Yeah, did not look through 2 picks against the Washington football team. But, I Trey Lance just isn't right now getting his opportunity to answer. Justin Fields' team around him. Zach Wilson's not playing. I mean, Trevor Lawrence.
Patriots playoff team pretty much feels like a lock, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think the question with them is like,
Yes,
how far could they go?
well, could they still win the division? Have they played the Bills yet? Do you have their schedule up?
They have.
They play Thursday Night Football against the Falcons. They are favored. I think it's 5.5. They win that game. All of a sudden, they're 7-4. Then who do they got?
Falcons, Titans, Bills, bye, Colts, Bills, Jags, Dolphins. So there's at least minimum 3 more wins on that schedule.
Yeah, so it's just going to come down to something like the Bills. Can they split with the Bills? Could they beat both the Bills games? I would say probably not win both the Bills games, but who knows? I mean, Bill is just an all-time great. The Titans, they match up pretty well against the Titans. They can kind of out-physical them. I know the Titans keep winning, but it's kind of crazy. I don't even know how they're doing it, but they are doing it. Vrabel's a really good coach. But I would say, it's going to sound crazy, I like the Patriots in that game. You have this, is that game in Tennessee?
No.
I mean, is it crazy to think the Patriots get to 12-5?
What are they at right now?
They're at 6-4.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games left. They have to win 6 of 7 to get to 12-5. That seems a little.
Yeah. Well, 11-6. Would you say 11-6 is a pretty good bounce back with a rookie quarterback?
I mean, after they lost 3 of their first 4 and their only win was the Jets, I thought remember my offseason prediction was Belichick Coach of the Year this year in the NFL? But now, if they win 11, I think he might be the Coach of the Year in the NFL. Yeah, I don't think that's now. They got to go 5-2, so they got to beat. You're saying split with Buffalo? That's one of their L's.
They got the Jags. That's a win. They got Miami twice.
No. Miami once. Miami once. Buffalo twice. Miami, Jacksonville. So if they just split with Buffalo and then make sure they beat either the Titans or the Colts.
I mean, they could beat the Colts or Titans, right? I mean, they could win.
Yeah, they don't have to beat them both. I'm just saying beat one of the two.
Yeah, I think they could.
They might do some mean things to Wentz. Did you see Wentz's old Wentz? He's like what's the movie with Eddie Murphy where he's the Clumps, where he's the guy, he's like skinny Eddie is forcing his way out of fat Eddie.
Yeah.
That's like Crazy Carson is trying to force his way out of regular Carson. Did you see the stuff he did today?
I did not, but I saw people.
He did a left-handed throw as he was going down into the middle of the field. No, not a pick.
Completed?
Either almost. I think it might have been an almost completion. I think he tried to dump it down over the middle for 2 yards, 3 yards.
That game, I'm just clicking on this game. I just assumed they won by 20 points. It was a little closer than I thought. 23-17. They did. I didn't
get to see a ton of it. The other thing he did was getting sacked. Tried to throw a 9-yard pass to the sideline with just a backhand flip, like he was Brandon Crawford, and almost got picked. Almost completed, depending on how you look at it. But
I mean, he didn't throw any picks. Now, he didn't throw any touchdowns either. But
Trevor, you see Trevor Lawrence's line in that game?
Yeah, not great.
16 of 35,
4.5 yards an attempt.
I'll give him credit. They got the ball to Laviska Shenault for a total of 15 yards on
not good.
3 carries and 4 or 5 catches. They got problems.
They suck.
They suck, but they were kind of in that game.
They've actually been playing harder. Niners play them next week.
So, I think the Patriots are. I mean, is Mac Jones hosting a playoff game? I mean, are we going that far? Here's the thing with Tennessee. I was looking at them this morning. Tennessee has by far the best percentage. The games they've won, the teams they've beaten, the winning percentage is. I think only New Orleans has an over 500 winning percentage. Their opponent's winning percentage. Margin of victory. Strength of victory is what that's called. But the Titans are. I counted them out a couple weeks ago, but
they're beating real teams, guy. I mean, they're 8-2, but just like Bills, Chiefs, Colts, Rams, Saints, that was their 5-game stretch. They beat the Colts twice. I mean, they just you have a stretch where you beat the Chiefs, Bills, and the Rams. That's a pretty good stretch. Especially they beat the Rams, and even they beat the Colts, who are not bad. I mean, Colts are 5-5. The Colts are going to be, if I had to bet right now, 9-8. With I could see them going into Week 17 with a chance to be 10-7, but they probably end up 9-8 when Wentz throws 3 picks in that game. But who knows? I would not quite give up on the Colts yet. They do have good players.
No, you know what they feel like to me is kind of Vikingsy.
Yeah, better version.
Well, they have a better record. I'm not sure if they're a better version of the Vikings, actually, but I think the Vikings might be better than them.
Because I'd probably, in a weird way, rather have Cousins than Wentz, I think. Yeah, I would. That pains me to say, but it's true.
I mean, either way, you're kind of hosed.
I mean, Cousins just puts up. I mean, Cousins threw for 300 yards today and 2 touchdowns. He's way more productive.
Cousins is, to me, I have broken up and gotten back together with Kirk Cousins so many times. Every time
Jefferson had 150 yards today. I mean, the guy dominates.
I mean, Chargers had some chances in that game. I don't know what happened. I got to go back. The Vikings up 7 had a 3rd and 20 and somehow converted and basically salted the game away.
Yeah, I didn't watch much of that game. I need to go. I don't know I want to text someone in the NFL, like, what is going on with this guy? Is Herbert regressing? Might be strong, but he's not dominating. Is it just because he hurt his hand?
Mike Williams 4 for 33. How does Mike Williams have 4 for 33?
He's been injured for him. Yeah, he's just been off. One thing that they need to do a better job of, and I like the little guy, but like Eckler's an undrafted free agent who's a good player, but you fucking treat him like he's. The Vikings have Dalvin Cook, and even Alexander Madison is like a really, really good backup. Like they have a legit running attack. Like watch the Raiders tonight. It's like Josh Jacobs, Kenyon Drake. The Chiefs, I mean, they just can get running backs. Good teams. The Cowboys, you got Zeke and Pollard. Like, is Eckler really getting it done? I'm not asking you to go get Barry Sanders, but I think there's something to be a little.
Where'd they get him?
Get a better running back? He's an undrafted free agent. He was Khalil Mack's teammate.
So he's undrafted. Larry Roundtree is a 6th rounder out of Missouri. That's the other guy who carried the ball for them today. Josh Kelly's the UCLA guy.
Excuse me, Eckler wasn't Khalil Mack's teammate. He went to Western Colorado, but he was an undrafted free agent.
Okay.
But we just can't get a real player, like a 3rd-round pick, to help the guy out. I'm
Adrian,
making excuses for Herbert here, but
Adrian on YouTube says football sucks now. It's not like it used to be. I'm not going to dive into whether it sucks or not, but it is a way to transition to it's weird as hell right now around the league. Before we do that, though, let's tell the people, John, about Decked. Decked.com/ham. Decked.com/ham. Go right now to Decked.com/ham and check out all their cool shit.
Yeah, they got a lot of sweet stuff. Dex has 2 full bed length drawers, can carry up to 200 pounds of whatever you got. They roll out waist high, giving you easy access, organize your tools and your gear. Here's the thing. Once your tailgate is up for our truck users, you can't get into them. You cannot break into the drawer system, so everything in there is safe. You have to put the tailgate down to access it. If you go to tailgates, do you know what you can do? Throw some brewskis back in there, throw a little bottle of Tito's, throw some ice, boom. And if you got, a little 4-wheeler, maybe a little snowmobile for the winter, you can put up to 2,000 pounds on top of the Deck's drawer system, guy. How do
you know what they call that, John? Payload.
See, you having a 4-wheeler. Yeah, you got a little payload.
Absolutely. On the blade, put the blades on that bad boy, and woof, off I go to the Alps. I've been seeing all these commercials for this truck where like the back kind of folds down a little and then folds out a little more. It's like, it's a workstation. I can put my laptop here. This is that on steroids, and you don't need to buy a new truck to have a system that works. Too. Yeah, it's a funny commercial with the little kid like, Dad, you work here? It's weatherproof, so it's safe from the ice, from the rain, from the snow. And boy, if we had rain, it makes it easy for you to access, but not for anybody else. The drawers roll out waist high, keeps your gear secure, 100% made in the USA, has a lifetime, no hassle warranty. Whether or not you can pass it down to your heirs, I'm not sure, but my guess is yes. My guess is you can pass it down to your heirs. And they've got locks for security. Decked.
Yep, decked.
Say it.
Sorry. Get your deck drawer system at decked.com/ham and get a free shipping. That's decked.com/ham for free shipping on your deck drawer system. Decked.com/ham.
Podcast also brought to you by LinkedIn. LinkedIn.com/ham.
Indeed, guy.
Oh, let me have to edit this out later. Go ahead, John. Why don't you take it from here?
You guys did not see that. Let's tell you about our friends at Indeed. Indeed.com.
They're both blue.
We got Indeed. We have, supply chain crisis. We got a lot going on in America. And if you're listening to this as a small business owner, you need to hire, come to our friends at Indeed.com/ham. With Instant Match, as soon as you sponsor a post, you get a short list of quality candidates. We're all looking for people. Hey, Middlecoff, we're looking for people, and we use Indeed.
You might be replacing me at this point.
Yeah. Indeed partners with you every step of your hiring process, so you can find talent with the skills you need through tools like Indeed Instant Match. Get on it and get on it now.
Indeed.com/ham. Like John said, $75 sponsored job credit. Offer valid through December 31st. Conditions and terms apply. Need to hire. You need Indeed.com/ham.
That was funny. We're humans. We are humans.
John, Robert, speaking of humans, not a robot. Robert Woods has an ACL. This one, you sent me this one on Friday, little infographic from, I don't know, Schefter or somebody. Like, holy smokes. When I saw the Robert Woods is out with an ACL, my first thought was, wait, is this something they knew before they signed Odell and didn't tell so that they could leverage Odell? But no, it happened on Friday after old number 3 came on board.
Did you hear the details of how it happened?
Share them.
He got injured at practice. He fell in practice, but he didn't think it was anything. Practiced through, did a media session after. I didn't think anything of it. And I think precautionary, the trainers got him to get an MRI, and then by the night they found out he had a torn ACL. You're right. It had nothing. I thought it was a little shady, too. I'm like, oh, they're doing some shady shit down there. These guys. And it really was. Here's a sad reality. Robert Woods is a better player than Odell Beckham. So they just lost their second best wide receiver. I'm sure you saw that graphic. I put it on Instagram. Guy, Cooper Kupp has 74 catches and 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns. They put the trio, and they put those two guys on the side. Like, Odell has 40 catches the last 2 years. Now, I do think, I can imagine if you're Sean McVay or Les Snead, you do feel much better about that you pulled off this signing. I saw Schrager say they came in a little last minute. I think the Chiefs and the Saints and definitely the Packers went all in from the jump. I don't know if the Rams, but they would have been way more aggressive, I'm sure, if Robert Woods had torn his ACL on Monday and not Friday, right? They got kind of lucky.
Yeah. Does Odell come back and renegotiate for a little more money?
Well, did you see his little video he put out going back to Cali? Like, he acted like he was Biggie Smalls and had, like, some Puff Daddy guy tell him, like, get a flight.
Well, you and I were talking about some of the weirdness of the league. I did not see that video, no. He edited himself into an old video?
Yeah, he edited, the opening of going back to Cali with Notorious B.I.G. starts with Puff Daddy calling him, telling him to get on a flight, and he goes, where am I going? He's like, you're going to LAX. He's like, Cali? Odell and his buddy are doing it, and then the beat drops, and it's like him jumping around. It's just like, oh my God, it's always like Odell. Why do we act like this guy's so much more relevant than he actually is? Now, he might, I don't know if it's going to happen immediately. And I saw Glazer say that he plays a different position than Robert Woods, even though, like, maybe, like, on specific plays, but most offenses, like, it's pretty interchangeable. Like, I know with Andy Reid, like, X and Z's, like, it doesn't fucking matter. Like, you just, when we had Macklin, and if they had other good like, when they had Sammy Watkins, like, those guys can all do, ideally, all your guys can line up in different spots. It makes you much harder to defend, right? Devontae, I think, is a true guy. He just lines up in certain spots because of the way their offense works. And maybe that's the way with the Shanahan offense. It's like, well, can we adapt it a little bit? Can we get with the times? But Glazer was saying there was this other guy that no one's ever heard of that's like going to really take the spot. Because I think part of it is the one thing with this offense, the Shanahan deal, maybe it's the McVay offense, is kind of complicated. Like, I don't know if Odell's just coming in and learning the whole playbook, and Sean's going to trust him on Monday Night Football to run 50 plays.
He's got to know some stuff from the Browns, right?
You would think, but it's not like Stefanski had worked for them. I think he had just adapted some of their playbook.
Just watch some of their YouTube
terminology. Yeah, he's just Ivy League guy. He's smart.
Yeah. Who was it Sunday morning? Was it a Sunday morning report that part of what held up Odell was getting his jersey number situation figured out, which doesn't make any sense.
Someone tweeted something. I was like, I refuse to read any more of this crap on this guy.
Yeah, that seems unlikely to me. But anyway, I don't know, man. I don't think he could make a play. He could make a play, right? You don't need like could he have the Cam Newton effect on Monday Night Football? Is basically Cam Newton. What was Cam Newton's line for the Panthers?
I think he played like 6 or 7 plays, but I mean, he did. His first 2 plays were a touchdown run and a touchdown pass. No, they were both at the 1 yard line. Like it's like, wouldn't you
Specialty play?
Wouldn't you consider Cam the greatest short yardage quarterback and arguably one of the great short yardage players in the history of the sport?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, that's what he can do. Because everyone's like, you were saying it was just a PR move. I'm like, well, yeah, Cam Newton can do these plays with his eyes shut. Like, they're going to have him start at quarterback? Let's chime in next week when he has to play 70 snaps. Yeah.
You know what's funny is P.J. Walker. P.J. Walker was 22 of 29. Now, I mean, only for 167, and a pick. No one's talking about P.J. Walker's efficiency.
He's just so tiny.
Yeah, it's that. I don't know how they're going to get through the rest of the season with what they've got, but
McCaffrey's back helps.
Yeah, to me, what McVay did with John Wolford, not that Jared Goff, Wolford could do things that Goff couldn't. But I think McVay, this will be interesting. This is part of a legend grow McVay moment. Not this game Monday, but just this season. Can he lose Woods, plug OBJ in, and just continue to be really good on offense? Like, are we going to look back on McVay? I think we've talked about Kyle like this in the past. Like, he can just make it work for anybody. The way you talk about Belichick on defense, that he can make it work for anybody. Just find a way to use people. I don't know. How much do you think this really affects what the Rams are going to be able to do this year?
Well, when I thought he was going to go to the Chiefs, I'm like, they'll figure out a way to use him. I mean, that would be kind of scary. Like, if I was the NFL, I wouldn't want him to go to the Chiefs. With McVay, I do think it's a little more challenging because their hierarchy, I guess it's thrown off now, but like Cooper Kupp is a star. Like he gets all their targets. I also think they have this new quarterback. They're in this weird spot because they just acquired Stafford, right? If he had been there 5 years, but he's still trying to figure everything out. Like I watched him last week thinking, I think there's probably a lot going on in terms of he's never had this pressure. For a guy that's made $250 million or whatever, he really, and I like him, but there probably has been many quarterbacks. Like I think Eli made a ton too, and Roethlisberger and Rivers. Those guys were in just big games constantly, right? Especially Big Ben and Eli. And even Rivers had countless playoff games and was just in big games. Hell, Rivers was just on Monday and Sunday Night Football a decent amount of time in his career. Stafford never played in those games, guy, ever. So he has all this pressure, and now I got to figure this guy out who's kind of like a nut job. Like he's a legitimate nut job when it comes to himself. That's where it's like I think it's very risky. It's putting an undue amount of pressure on a guy that already feels like, not that the pressure's getting him but it's just a lot of going on. Like,
yeah, but I do wonder if part of it is McVay thinks like I need this guy to win. I need to win I'm trying to win a championship, and this guy can help me win a championship. Because
what is he in what point in time in his career? I guess as a player, in 15 and 16, he looked like a great player. But like in the last 4 or 5 years, like he views a championship level. Part of being a championship level player is like being a good guy, being a good teammate. Like,
yeah. I mean, it's a risk. I'm with you. But what I'm saying is I wonder if McVay felt like I thought they were the best team in the league. I thought they were a championship team. To me, them are the Bucs. But I would have the Rams number 1. I've said as much. So I thought they were already a championship level team, but I wonder if he thinks.
You like them more than the Packers?
I like the Rams more than the Packers. Yeah. Here's what they lose, though. Like, what Odell is not, to your point, is consistent. Just like as a person, as a performer. Robert Woods is really consistent.
Stud.
Like, fantastic. Robert Woods was. You remember that? You remember how Chris Davis of the A's hit? Was it 242 for 3 or 4 straight years, or 241, or
I thought it was 237, maybe
237,
247, maybe.
Robert Woods had a very similar thing going, because Robert Woods, I just looked back, John, he had 45 catches through 9 games. He had each of the last 2 years exactly 90 catches. He was about to have another 90 catch year, almost exactly. Like,
and even his second year with the Rams, he got 86.
Reliable and spectacular. It's like kind of the best of both worlds, right? It really was. And he was probably going to have more touchdowns this year. Right? Probably have more touchdowns. Did you scout him coming out?
Yeah, I thought my comp to him was Reggie Wayne. Not the flashiest, but like this guy's just going to be, and Reggie's probably a better player, but this guy was on pace before he tore his ACL. That's a good thought by you to probably have 4 straight years of basically 90, 1,000, and 5 to 7.
He was probably going to he's probably going to have more touchdowns this year than any of the previous years, right? Because he already had 6.
Right. Yeah. You're saying his career high was 6?
Oh, he already had 4.
Yeah. So I mean, he probably was going to get to 7 or 8. Odell Beckham is not this guy. No. He's not this guy right now.
What was the deal with Woods? Is you must have done, if you scouted him background at USC, like people like him.
Yeah, people loved him. Like he was like a team captain. Lane loved him. He's a Sarah High School guy. People just liked him. I mean, he's a very good guy. Really, his career, lifetime LA guy, born, raised there, went to college there, went to Buffalo when they were shitty, and it just threw him off. Buffalo was throwing off several California guys. It happened to Marshawn, and they just get thrown off. The town, the weather. He came back to LA. Marshawn went to Seattle. I mean, Marshawn's a Hall of Famer. Robert Woods probably isn't, but Robert Woods was just a consistent, like, there's so many wide receivers, he's not making Pro Bowls, but if your second wide receiver is getting you 90 and 1,100 every year and 4 or 5 touchdowns, like, what more do you ask for, right? If I just say, hey, would any team in the league want their number 2 to get you 90 and 1,100? Well, who would say no?
Yeah, it's like, wait, 90 and 1,100? What's my number 1 getting?
Well, yeah, 140.
That's my number 2? Holy shit. Jackpot.
Yeah.
That's what you would think.
You're right. It's a let the legend grow, because Sean is, we were just saying Andy, right? 8 of 9 since he's been with Kansas City. Sean this year, as he's headed there, is going to be 4 of 5 with the Rams, just in the playoffs. 4 of 5. That's all you want. You just get to the playoffs and take your chances. But obviously, mentally, they're not just, you're right. They're not just in like, oh, we just made it to the first round. Like they're in Super Bowl or bust mode. But so is Tampa and so is Green Bay. So the AFC does not have that. There are 3 teams that internally it's Super Bowl or bust, right? Tampa for sure. The Rams, just their moves for sure. And I just think Green Bay, anytime you have Rodgers in the peak of his powers, I mean, it's just
when you don't know what the future holds.
They were devastated last year when they lost that game, right? They thought they were going to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Seattle?
They had that mindset?
Yeah.
Well, they're 3 and 6. Yeah. I mean, I think they've been thinking it. It just hasn't. Are they really just going to win like 5 games this year?
Do you know the last time Seattle won in Green Bay was Mike Holmgren's first game against the Packers, 1999. They look awful in Green Bay.
Yeah, they were. I mean,
I had to laugh at halftime. They go to the CBS set and they're like, they go to Phil Simms and he's like, Cowher's pissed it's not 0-0 because it was 3-0 and Cowher loves defense. It was a very good line. But that game was, I liked watching it, honestly.
Me too. The snow came
remind me of my childhood.
Yeah, they're just
watching the SEC of my childhood.
Now, in fairness, like you work 19 hours a day to get your finger right. By the time it's going to be difficult to like get sleep, 1, and 2, just rhythm with your guys. But I mean, I think his stats at one point he had 40 yards throwing. What did he end up with? He had 161 yards, but that final drive, he probably got 50, 60 on it. It was pretty ugly for him. It was just, he looked like a guy who hadn't played forever, and he spent 19 hours a day fixing his finger.
Him and Rodgers threw end zone interceptions, double baby zone, John.
Rodgers
situations.
I think that was the worst pass I've ever seen Rodgers throw. Or up there.
Yeah, what was the name of the guy in the Packers? That catch was incredible. He made a great interception.
Oh, yeah. The high point of the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He jump balled it to Lockett in double coverage.
Yeah, it was sweet.
But that was a weird. Rashawn Gary, I did not see. I've never heard anybody say that. They said it for those of you who were watching that broadcast. Like, he hurt his arm. It was so gruesome. We're not going to show you again. So did you rewind and see it live, or did they show a replay? Because you saw it and told me it looked bad.
What happened is, so it's like 4th down or whatever, and they go, like, you just see him grabbing his arm. So as they're going to break, they just kind of slowly show a replay of the play, and you just see the angle of his arm getting stretched out where the labrum, I'm not even sure what the tendons, the shoulder, I just think it went the wrong. I just think it ripped. Because he was the backside defensive end. He grabbed on to it would have been the Seattle's running back, but it wasn't Carson because he didn't play today, whoever it was. And he kind of went for a ride, right? But his body was still far away, so he didn't have the ability to kind of hold him up. So the running back went, and his body kind of took him, and they were going opposite directions, the body and the arm. And and they showed LaFleur because they had lost Aaron Jones earlier in the game. It kind of looked like, did he just tear his ACL? And I saw a rap sheet, it just sprained MCL.
Oh, Michelle said he was crying.
Yeah, when he said he was crying. Like, she did. She said he was crying. Like, he went over to see
No. Wrong broadcast crew.
There was another guy.
Said Michelle.
It was Ingold was crying tonight.
Yeah, but Tracy Wolfson said he was crying.
So once they did that, you could just see that, his arm ripped. But LaFleur was like screaming motherfucker because he just realized, I think, like, did I just lose my starting defensive end and my starting running back in like 15-minute span? You just can't keep losing people. I don't care who you are. That's the one problem with Tampa Bay. Tampa lost Richard Sherman, who's like a much higher level human version of Josh Norman, right? I think the Niners would have just loved if Richard could have just stayed a little younger and healthier, and they would have kept him and not had to do this Josh Norman thing. But Richard's body's kind of it's over. Like, he got hurt in warm-ups, and then they're like, yeah, it's going to be several weeks. Like, you don't get hurt in warm-ups and then, like, serious injuries, right?
Well, and by the way, it's not like he was coming back from any injury. He was coming back from an Achilles strain or whatever. He got hurt in his debut with them, right? Wasn't it an Achilles thing?
Maybe a calf.
Oh, okay.
He hurt his calf in warm-up, so maybe he just re-injures it. But part of getting old and just your body breaking down, and this happened to us last year in San Francisco, they have a lot of injuries. Antonio Brown's still in a boot. Like, they're just missing a ton of guys. I watched Melanie Collins. Melanie Collins fan. She was talking to Bruce before the game, and she said that you guys came out of the bye last year. You didn't lose a game. She's like, what can you do to do that again? He's like, well, we just need to get healthy. We have a million injuries. And clearly, like, Tom is 44. You know, he can only do so much, and he can't run.
The second Tom throws 2 picks. Like, Tom is 44.
They kicked what?
That's what Cal Shanahan said not long ago, John.
It might have been that game because Chase Young tore his ACL in a non-contact. He went down, carted off. He was crying.
Yeah,
a lot of injuries today, guy. Except McCorkle, he's healthy.
A lot of injuries, a lot of slipping. There was a lot of slipping I guess it was ice cold the Packer game, but McCorkle
not the greatest day. I mean, it just wasn't.
No, I mean, it felt the morning games were definitely. I got outside and went for a walk.
Yeah,
like get a little sun on the body, because it was not great.
It was
not great. But I mean, some other things happened. The Bucs lost off a bye to Heineke. Mike White came back to earth. The backup quarterbacks who have looked good, McCoy and Mike White, midnight struck.
The problem is for the 49ers, those guys look sweet against them, and then they shit the bed against other teams. I mean, I looked up at one point in time, it was 20-0. It's like, the Cardinals just going to lose like 50-0 in this game? And they were bound to just lose a game, especially they're missing all these players. But what if those guys aren't healthy? Like, it is something to keep an eye on. They have a lot of injuries as well.
Eric says, here's a question for you guys. Eric Dane, full name on the internet. Here's a question. Your team is in the playoffs. You can have Brady, Rodgers, Kyler, Dak, or Stafford. Where does Stafford rank on your list?
Well, Brady and Rodgers are 1 and 2.
In which order? I'd go Brady 1, Rodgers 2.
It just depends on Tampa. I just want Brady, but if I put Brady on the Bucs, or Green Bay, it feels like they'd be worse. Like they need Rodgers to kind of make some shit happen.
Yeah,
but yeah, Tom's earned it. You put Tom 1. It's weird. Tom's like the greatest.
It's not even earned it to me. It's like money time playoffs. I just trust him the most.
Yeah, I agree. So Brady, Rodgers,
Kyler.
I would take Dak over all the next 3.
I would not. If you told me they're healthy, they're all healthy, I'm taking Kyler third.
In a playoff game?
Yep.
I think I would go Brady, Rodgers, Dak. I don't really even like Kyler. I mean, I like the player, but I just something about him I just don't really
I'm with you. Bad body language the other day on the sideline.
Yeah, he's just a bad body language guy. I hate bad body language guy. But
I know, something off.
I would trust him to do way crazier shit in a playoff game than Stafford might throw 3 picks.
So Stafford's dead last.
I think so, yeah. And I don't even like Kyler.
Yeah, same.
I think there's a decent
Patrick
chance
says I would take Dak too.
I think there's a decent chance Stafford's playoff debut with the Rams, it could be devastating.
Well, that's the one thing I keep saying. I think they can win the Super Bowl, but what has he actually won, right? Let's see. I mean, he looked bad last week. Let's, give him a chance.
He gets Norman and Lenore and the crew.
When does Josh Norman's first penalty for smacking? Is Odell going to get in this game? I saw them sewing his jersey.
Yeah, I think he plays. I bet he gets packages like Deshaun. I agree. Dak would be third.
So when does Josh Norman get his first? When does Josh Norman get his first penalty?
Dak is really good, guy. I was low on him. He's really good.
I agree.
He's really good.
I agree. CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper. He's really good.
Who's not good is Calzada from A&M. Don't ever bet on that fucking kid.
I thought they were gonna cover for you, and then they didn't. They had a lot of chances to go. What was the line? Were they +3? Is that what it was?
No, I thought I took them. I thought they were minus points. They were.
Oh, A&M was minus points.
Maybe it was +2. I don't know. I mean, it was.
I texted you that night. We were texting. I thought you told me A&M was.
Maybe it was
getting
-1
points, but
yeah, I think Ole Miss was an underdog if I remember correctly.
Okay,
but they got worked. I mean, Lane Kiffin is a star coach guy. Like that's just period, point blank, end of story. Lane Kiffin is a star. And honestly, you've seen him with Leach. Like Leach is just really good coach. Like Mike Leach, you put him places, he wins. People complain about him. I know, you guys that had to be around him, he can drive some people nuts. That guy fucking wins. Lane Kiffin is even a higher level version, but I didn't realize, I haven't watched Ole Miss that much. He does this version of the Chip Kelly offense, but he runs more of a passing game of the speed in which it plays. I mean, I knew they ran, no huddle really fast. They haul ass.
Well, did you see they put a clock on the screen? They got one snap off under 10 seconds. End of the play, clock goes up, bam, next snap. In the red zone, too.
Did you know they went that fast?
No. Warp speed is what I think Chip used to call it.
Well, Coward tweeted the other day that Mel Tucker is about to sign a deal with Michigan State. And from what I've heard, his wife is from there. They have a ton of money. He's moved 7 jobs in 10 years. He might just stay at Michigan State because you know what? He knows in a couple years he can go to the NFL. Right? It's just I don't.
Or you can be like a lot of coaches that coach at Michigan State and just stay there if you like it there, right?
Yeah. So if they pay him $7-8 million,
think about it. Michigan State's coaches generally there's some longevity there.
I've heard Scott Woodward no way to hire Lane. He wouldn't. Lane Kiffin's going to win 10 games at Ole Miss. Now he's going to win this week because he plays Vanderbilt, and then they have the not the Apple Cup, but the Egg Bowl. That's going to be a tough game. Him and Leach. That's much watch TV.
It is.
But I just don't see how LSU does much. Lane's really good. Lane's everything people.
Why do they call it the Egg Bowl?
Probably I was going to say cows don't have eggs. I don't know.
I don't know either. No, I think he's fantastic. I mean, Woodward, like he's the guy that hired Jimbo at A&M, right? He's the guy that hired Peterson at UW.
I've been told by people in the know that think Jimbo that LSU is still his dream job. Now he makes so much money in his family, but don't ever rule that out.
His family what?
Well, like they'll do like Texas. I think his new wife likes Texas.
Oh,
but
gotcha.
like Jimbo would, because his whole thing was like, I got ranches here, like bragging how rich he is. So he's like, I'm cool here. And clearly you can win big at A&M. His quarterback was injured coming in. But I just watched, like, Lane kicked his ass. Now, the game was at Ole Miss, so it's, in college that matters. In the SEC, game day was there. But
no, game day was at – oh, yeah, game day was there.
Game day was at the Grove.
The other guys were at Waco.
Is there that big of a difference? Like, I know Jimbo won the national championship years ago, but, like, Lane's – I envision Lane as the next head coach at LSU.
To me, Lane is the best coach available. I'm not that he's available. But, like, okay, Luke Fickell would be really good. James Franklin right now is, you can't let a week or a month but, I mean, it's not having a great year at Penn State. Iowa State's not having a great year at Matt Campbell. Lane is just kicking ass over and over again.
Now, here's, if I wanted to, like, if we were in a room talking about this, I'd go, you spend a lot of time watching college football. So do I, an unhealthy amount. It is a bad quarterback year. And Lane has a really good quarterback. Like A&M's quarterback's down.
He gets credit for that.
No, I know. But this guy was good. You're right. He's made that guy better.
This guy's like a fifth-year senior, like six. I mean, he's been there forever.
Yeah, he's gotten a lot better. But he clearly, like most of the teams, he's not playing teams with great quarterback play. I'm just making it. I'm pro.
Nobody, but yeah, nobody is. It's true.
Georgia's guy is okay. I mean, obviously Alabama's guy's good. Who's the best quarterback in the Pac-12? I mean, who's the best quarterback in the Big
I've had that
Ten?
conversation with several people.
Stroud's
CJ Stroud could be the Heisman winner. I mean, in the Pac, it's really hard to pick one.
Not a great year.
It's really hard.
Yeah.
So, most people default to Jaden Daniels at ASU, but his numbers aren't that great. But yeah, I would give Lane credit. It's not like this quarterback's been around, was kind of down in the dumps, and Lane revived him.
Well, think about
this. If somebody else is the coach at Ole Miss, are we talking about Matt Corral this way?
No chance. We got how many times I bet in their program's history. I mean, he does have a chance to win 11 games. I bet they haven't won 11 games that many times like the last 30 years. Here's the other thing. When Lane got the Ole Miss job, even at FAU, I don't think he was viewed as toxic, but it was still kind of viewed as a kind of a polarizing guy.
Yeah.
So, like, Ole Miss was probably the best job he could get at the time, right? And then what's crazy to me is, and I have no vendetta. I don't know the guy. I don't even care about him. Like, I'm indifferent toward Sark. But I'm not indifferent toward, he's clearly just not very good. Somehow Sark gets dragged out of a team meeting at USC for being wasted at like 9 a.m. And somehow 3 or 4 years later, he's less polarizing than Lane, yet his record as a head coach was never very good. And he gets the fucking Texas job. Like, Lane never would have sniffed the Texas job until he did like a job like Ole Miss. Yet Sark didn't have to do that.
I've heard Sark's just a charming guy, which is a likable guy. Lane's might just be a little more difficult to connect with. Might be that simple.
Did you watch Game Day at all on Saturday morning?
I didn't. I know Lane went on.
He's just a weird guy, kind of.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. You get in the room, people want to trust you, and like I'm explaining to you, like I get it, but at some point, good, nice guys get fired if they don't produce, and weird guys get hired if they do.
Would the powers that be at the University of Texas right now, if they could just press a button, and Lane would just show up and Sark would disappear, what would they do?
Yes, they would press that button so hard.
I don't think it can be like overstated what a disaster. Not even just the Kansas game, but Sark's first year at Tech. Like, it just can't be any worse.
Not just it's one thing you lose to Kansas. They lost a shootout to Kansas. Like, they kept upping the ante, and Kansas kept meeting them, and then Kansas went for 2 and won it in overtime.
Did you see the video that went viral
after they kicked the extra point to get to overtime? Like, they could have gone for 2 and just won the game in regulation, right? Texas.
Oh, they scored first in OT?
No. Texas, they went to a second OT and Texas scored first, and then Kansas went for 2 and won it. But what I'm saying is Texas scored at the end of regulation, kicked the extra point to go to OT. They're like, yeah, we'll just go to OT with Kansas. Like, all right, here we go.
Yeah. So Texas in overtime, they scored, and then Kansas scored, but Kansas went for 2.
Went for 2 before, because the next overtime you had to go for 2 anyway.
Yeah, it's like we're on the road. We got nothing to lose but more games. Who cares? That's awesome.
What'd you say? They've won 20 games in our lifetime, basically?
They've won 20 games in a decade. That was their first Big 12 road victory. They've been in the Big 12 this whole time since 2008. 13 years without a big. You're playing at minimum 4 conference? I mean, 4 times. That's
road games.
Talking 50 road games. They were 0-50 plus in their last
Crazy.
50 plus.
That is wild.
And you're getting some teams when you're that shitty, you're getting like not always their best effort, right?
It's wild. Absolutely wild. Oh, John, before we go any further, by the way, let's tell the people about rexmd.com/ham. That's rexmd.com/ham. Should Viagra really cost $90?
No.
Hell no. I don't think so. John don't think so. And RexMD sure as hell don't think so. Go to rexmd.com/ham.
Yeah, there's no copay. There are no doctor office visits. And your shipping's always free. Starter packs are currently available to new customers. Here's the great part, RexMD. No doctor's office visits. You don't have to see anyone. No one knows. It's very discreet. We're men here. We got problems that we don't always feel comfortable talking about. Let's just go to rexmd.com/ham, and you can just talk to them if you have some issues about the issues, because we want you to have a good time in the bedroom, and that's where RexMD comes through. And like we said, it's cheap. If you're looking for generic Viagra, RexMD has made the process fast, easy, and most importantly, affordable.
RexMD.com/ham. Don't wait another minute. RexMD now offering starter packs of generic Viagra for new customers. RexMD.com/ham. REXMD.com/ham.
Do you think that Justin Wilcox makes it, if the job is available, to the postponed USC game? Or do you think he's already the head coach at Washington, if that's a possibility?
Well, that game's on December 4th. The USC-Cal postponed rescheduled game's December 4th, which is like a week and a half before the early signing period, which is December 15th, I think. I'd be surprised if all his guys stayed. Like who's SC going to have on the field for that game? I don't know. If they're like not bowl eligible, and it could be weird.
Is SC Cal's guys to play? Is SC a lock to participate in that game?
Well, yeah, they agreed to reschedule it, so somebody wearing an SC uniform is going to play in the game. But the Cal guys want to play in that game, which is why the game's rescheduled. Because, well, we'll see what happens. They have to win out in order to become bowl eligible. I think Justin would coach I think he'd wait till after that game out of respect for those players. Wouldn't shock me if he didn't, because weird situation. But
was he a lock to get the job?
I don't think he's a lock, no. But the search starts now.
And he's going to actively try. And I don't blame him. As Wilner said, he laid this out, I think, like last week on like Tuesday. He's like, I think Jimmy Lake's going to get fired, and I think Wilcox is going to be the job. And my thought was, if Wilcox could get that job, he would crawl naked starting right now to get that job, to get out of the mess that he's in no fault of his own. Yeah, no, and I even think outside of COVID, like even you set aside everything COVID, Cal is just a difficult place to win, period. I was thinking about this. If he leaves, I think that is one of the worst Power 5 jobs in America. One, they don't pay that much. The COVID rules guy are not only they're going to be like that in Berkeley for fucking years. It's not going to change. So now it's a head coaching job in the Pac-12. I'm not like ignorant, and someone might take it, but some of these like Tim DeRuyter. What's Tim DeRuyter make as a defensive coordinator at Oregon? $1.5 million? Does that feel like a lot?
Yeah, no, I mean, John Donovan, the OC at Washington, was making like $830, so Tim might be maybe 1.2.
Yeah, so he's at a place where they can just recruit big time, kick ass, take names. They're going to be in the mix to make the playoffs every year. Like, would you now? Some people like being head coaches. He's already coached there. If they offered Tim DeRuyter the job for like $2.5 million,
yeah, this says $825 with another $125 in incentives. So call it
about $1 million. Everything's free for him, right? It's a good job. So if you can double your pay, Cal, say, offered him $2.5 million.
Yeah.
More than double.
Yeah. Depends. I mean, he was there, right?
That's what I'm saying.
Like he
to
would
me,
know.
he'd be a guy that they'd be interested in.
Yeah, I think you to more than double your pay and become a head coach again. I would think he'd want to become a head coach again.
I wouldn't touch that job with a 50-foot fucking pole because of what it's not going to change the testing thing for you.
But see, I think you're overstating the testing thing, and the real question is, can you win there in normal years? I think that's the question. Like, will you get the support in normal?
But you're gonna but normal. You're gonna think for the next several years. Like for that guy, he's gonna live like 2023, 2024, 5. Like you're gonna live in that environment for a long time.
Maybe. I'm not convinced you're dealing with that sort of testing thing for 3 more years. I don't think I wouldn't expect
I don't know. I would.
No, I don't know either, but that seems extreme even for Berkeley to me.
Yeah,
3 more years. Huh?
But COVID's not going to go away, and they're just not going to change.
Yeah, I don't know. It'd be the question you ask in the meeting, and they won't have an answer for you. But I think becoming a head coach is a pretty. It's just you don't get a lot of those chances, let alone second chances. If it was somebody in that position, but
I would beg to go to Washington State or something over that job.
Yeah, I mean they're all unique jobs. I think Jed's Fish is. I mean, they were in their game with Utah this week. Arizona, they got a chance. It's going to take a few years, but they got a chance. I'll be interested.
But to me, that's a better job. Obviously, Cal historically under Tedford will win big more than Arizona. But, like, they don't have rules down there. And I'm not even talking just with COVID. Like, you can cheat. You can
academics.
do whatever you want. Yeah, it's just like, it's easy. I think Cal has plummeted now with the vibe that Wilcox is a wildly respected job. The things that people are saying in the college football coach, like it is viewed as a toxic place. And not from a football, from players and coaches like playing and coaching, but just what you have to overcome. Even in the Pac-12, is just in theory should be easier, right? Because there's like less competition than like the SEC or the Big Ten.
No, I think you get it a little bit probably at Colorado historically. You get it at Cal, Stanford, but it's different at Stanford. It's just terrible. Well, no, but I'm just saying there are, like, I think there's people at Colorado who just don't think you should have a football team, right? Like that work at the university. Like at Cal, there's just, you'd say that's not a place that's just the university is all in on football. Like that's not.
You think anyone, if it had that thought at Ole Miss, they'd fire you immediately? Like if you said that out loud?
Yeah, now I don't know that it's many people, but I think there's like, I think one of the board of regents at Colorado famously like always votes against coaching raises. Now that said, I do think they actually Colorado, if you go to Colorado's facility, like they're pretty into football. No, like if you go look at their new coaches' offices, but
feels like Colorado's a football state too. Just like you think Colorado, Denver,
even though they don't have like the greatest players, but
yeah.
I mean, they had Mel Tucker for a year, but
they were on the right guy. You gotta give them credit.
They were the right guy. You're right.
Yeah.
UW. So they're going to pay, it looks like Jimmy Lake, like $9-10 million. Pretty crazy situation.
They hated him
nuts.
That much.
Like universally just approval. Nick Saban was going to hire him in Alabama. They gave him a raise. Nick Saban wanted to hire him again. They just gave him the head coaching job. Like it's pretty nuts.
Nick Saban was coming after Jimmy Lake.
Yes. They gave him a raise to keep him. 13 games he got, John. 13 games and not a soul
has defended. Saturday? Is that 14 or is that?
I don't know if I'm counting Saturday.
I'm fucking with you.
That's a good question. We should count Saturday. Well, I mean, he didn't get to coach it.
So you think he knew he was fired before that game? I mean, he probably knew this week he was in.
I don't know. I mean, they asked the interim coach last week, "Is Jimmy going to be back next week?" He was like, you got to ask the athletics director.
Yeah, he didn't even want to mess with it. Wasn't the interim coach Jimmy Lake's guy? Probably, right?
Yeah, Bob Gregory. He was a Tedford guy at Cal. Really nice guy. I mean, like super good guy. Met him once. Shane Vereen, who you golfed with. We golfed with. Loves him. Yeah, loved him. He went to Boise after that. And I think Peterson there or something, but really well respected guy. He was their defensive coordinator. But it's wild. I mean, it's wild. There hasn't been any no, this is bullshit. I haven't heard. Now, somebody's saying it somewhere, maybe. I don't know. But it's pretty crazy. He went from universally, everyone was like, this is our guy. We got our swag. It's hard to replace people, man. And replacing Chris Peterson with a person who did not have the experience of head coach. And really, he was on Peterson's staff. I don't know if he was a Peterson guy, quote unquote. But, I mean, Peterson is one of the, like, he's in the inner circle for the athletics director, Jen Cohen. I can't imagine she was hiring Jimmy Lake without Chris Peterson giving a stamp of approval. It's nuts. It's pretty nuts.
When you say people getting his back, are you including players? Like
I'm just saying. Now, again, I'm not scrubbing player tweets, but I just haven't seen a whole lot.
I haven't seen many go viral. And say what you want about Rolovich, like people went viral immediately getting his back.
Well, like Jane DeLaura had a press conference, like, you guys are trying to take down our coach. He's the quarterback at Washington State.
Yeah,
Rolovich brought him from Hawaii. That's where DeLaura's from. He San Luis High School, right? The last week, I think, before Rolovich got fired, he had a press conference. And he was like, you guys are trying to take out our head coach? Well, we've got his back. Like one of those deals. And now they've played well without him, too. I mean, they gave Oregon a fight. But that guy's got some shit to him.
Isn't it a little weird that I know it's a tough spot as the interim assistant said that, though? I guess what's he going to say? Like,
people took it as weird, yeah.
Yeah.
But it is, I guess, the right answer. Because
it's a tough spot. It's not an easy spot, so I can't. But is it a disaster in there? Like, was he just a royal? Like, everyone hated him all of a sudden?
It feels like that's what happened. That maybe he was immature. He talked a lot of shit as like a DB coach and a co-DC, and then got the DC job, and maybe never adjusted to what the job is, which is maybe a little bit more stability and maturity. And
well, then
I don't know, it's hard because there haven't really been a lot of details outside of that weak shit he talked about Oregon. And then, hitting the player in the face and pushing him in the back, which I just made it sound worse than it actually was.
Yeah, because I didn't think it was that bad. I thought it was a little overrated. But the way you just described it, which is the way it felt, usually when you get rid of someone, you hire the polar opposite. And Wilcox, and I'd even say Jonathan Smith, do just feel like mature, got their shit together, and they're in the conference. Now, both their records, Wilcox, I saw someone put his record's not very good.
It's not good, no.
And Jonathan's having, they just got bowl eligible, I would imagine, for the first time there. But, like, those two guys, and Jonathan's, they've both been there, do just feel like if you wanted to pivot away from guy that couldn't handle the cash, the spotlight, just was over his head. You just want people that can handle it and that that you would get to say yes. I don't know, Jonathan would be a lock to say yes, but Wilcox for sure. Like, to me, those guys are getting interviewed, right? It feels like those two guys would get interviewed.
Justin know. I mean, he was there, right? So they know him. And
wasn't Jonathan?
Yeah, well, obviously Jonathan was there too, for sure. But I also think both of them would have a Peterson. If Chris Peterson still has sway around that department and that institution, and I think Justin, even though they haven't won a lot, it goes back to what you said about the difficulty at Cal. That program changed when he took it over from what it was with Sonny Dykes. It was soft, and Sonny's had his success since, but it immediately turned into like now it's like you're going to level up in terms of the talent that you can get. Are you going to be able to recruit and sign those guys? That would be my question for Justin Wilcox. But I am a humongous Justin Wilcox fan, John. I think he is exactly what you're talking about when you're talking about somebody who understands what it means to run a program. And I think Jonathan Smith is the same. With those two guys, I'm not going to go all over the place based on they lost 2 games or they won a game I think Justin's a really good coach. Who did not have a great record? His first head coaching job was Mario Cristobal. But the circumstances at FIU, like he rebirthed that program. The program had been dead. He brought it back. I thought people made way too much, even at the beginning when Oregon got him, of like, this guy deserves another chance when you really looked at what FIU was. So, yeah, I think those guys will have I would interview them. Absolutely, I would interview them. And I think they'd settle things down.
Well, you have the comment of Moorhead. To me, he's not a West Coast guy, right? He was a hired gun and a good hired gun because he's good. But, to me, he feels like a pretty big stretch. I've seen his name on lists, which it doesn't feel like he's a fit at all. I think the Chris Peterson
I disagree. No, I wouldn't hire him at Washington.
They're going to want an offensive guy. Right?
Yeah, I wouldn't hire him at Washington, but I think Washington State might hire him. You're right. He's not Joe. I would have thought You're right. He's not a West Coast guy, but keep in mind, who is he? He's probably been recruiting some pretty impressive players at Oregon. I had an Oregon game this year, and he feels like he's a PA guy. I'm pretty sure. Do you have his thing?
Yeah, PA guy.
And PA guys, I think, kind of work anywhere.
Yeah, they do.
And he's
because they're just kind of blue collar people.
He's a really easy to talk to guy. I think he's got a really good disposition. He's unique. Like he's kind of clever and he's kind of fun.
Kind of came out of nowhere guy before he went to James Franklin. He was not a big school coach.
No. Where was he?
He's got a little Chip Kelly background to him, like Georgetown, Akron, Fordham. And then he must have been killing it at Fordham, and James Franklin hired him, and obviously he became a star under James Franklin, right? Because they were winning 11 games and putting up points.
And he's now SEC's probably not a fit for him, right? He was 2 years at Mississippi State.
Wasn't it a disaster there too? Like it just did not work. I thought of Mississippi State.
He went 8-5, 6-7. His first year he won no games in the SEC. His second year he went 3-5.
But I thought it was more like a disaster in terms with like people, and it didn't work.
No, it was
because here's at an emotional press conference the following day. So after they lost the Egg Bowl, he'd lost back to back. Moorhead was only the third Bulldog coach to win it. No, he won both Egg Bowls. At an emotional press conference the following day, Moorhead tried to knock down the rumors about his job security, saying, "This is my school, this is my team, this is my program, and anyone who thought otherwise could go pound sand and kick rocks. You'll have to drag my Yankee ass out of here." So maybe that pissed some people off, right? So maybe he felt like they didn't embrace him, right?
Yeah,
a Northeast guy.
Yeah, I think he's got PA guys.
Yankee ass out of here.
You agree? That's fighting words.
That was probably a dumb thing to say down there, huh?
Unless you're just like I'm not hanging around for people who don't like me.
That's a great line, guy.
That's a great line. G says, guys, we're talking about Fordham. It's either time to end the pod or get back to the NFL. It's late. Agent says, I don't even know what they're talking about. LOL. What else do we have on the list for today?
Yeah, that'd be enough.
All right. Okay, so we'll be back. Our plan at this point is to do a Tuesday, kind of early Tuesday situation. But, if the Niners win and walk off at the end of overtime Monday night, maybe we'll see what happens Monday. We'll keep you guys updated and appraised of the circumstances. Yeah. All right.
Adios.
Thanks for hanging, everybody, on this Sunday night. Sleep tight.